Today we're gonna go back to the tie-in tips. I haven't done one of these in about 6-7 months, so it's about time to get into them. We're gonna do a quick, relatively quick by my standards, rundown on tying a two-toned wedged head. The big focus on this, and I've been messing around with these for quite some time. I mean, for the longest time they were really, they worked, but they weren't, they didn't look as good as I wanted them. I wanted that nice clean break on the head between the two colors. You know, I wouldn't have one mixing into the other. And there's a couple of keys that I found to doing that, so I figured I'd do a video and show you guys exactly what I figured out over, you know, maybe 5-6 dozen of these things. But the first thing that I want to talk about, and I'm going to stay a little bit zoomed out on this one. The first thing that I want to talk about is the actual hair itself, and this is the most critical part of this fly, or of the wedged heads, whether you're doing a SID, whether you're doing a D&D. Your hair is the absolute most critical part, so I want to touch on that really quick, and I'm just kind of halfway in, halfway out of the camera. The biggest thing, and I've started using the deer belly hair on these a lot actually. I like the way that it just flares better. I think it's better for spinning. I still use the Primo strips every once in a while. You get, you know, some really good, you get better length with that most times. But I think the density is a little bit better on the belly hair, and for the wedge style heads it seems to do better. The Cougars, the Dungeons, all of that stuff, I stay with the Primo strips. The D&Ds, the wedge styles, the belly hair seems to be best for me. The one thing that I will touch on this is be very selective. I very, very rarely will order stuff online. Matter of fact, the only time that I do is when I order it from Kelly. You know, Johnny, Jeremy, those boys down there, they go through and they know what you're doing, you know, as far as tying with deer hair. They'll go through, they'll select the best stuff. I mean, you're going to get, this entire thing is usable. It's over, you know, 1.5 to 2 inches almost throughout. This one right here, you go getting close to this stuff, and I'll zoom in so you can, I'll do a little quick compare and contrast. This stuff right here, you can use it, but I'm telling you right now, it's going to be a pain in the ass. The difference between that and this is night and day. You have so much more length on this. Your usable stuff is basically, I mean, once you take the tips and everything out, your usable stuff, you're looking at maybe a 1/2 inch that is good. This yellow right here, I mean, you have good thick density all the way up through. I mean, even your tips are going to flare a little bit for you. You have nice hollow bodies, and your usable stuff is probably 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches on this. I mean, I know I got my finger in the way, but you got 1.5 inches, close to 2 inches on this, so it just makes working with this stuff so much easier. So do yourself a favor when you're tying these patterns and you're picking out your deer hair, be very selective. It's only going to relieve frustrations later on when you actually sit down at the bench. This stuff, I have uses for it. Spinning wedged heads is not one of them. So it's going back out of the way. That's going to go in the bottom one. So we're going to go ahead and get into the actual tying on this and making that nice clean break on your wedged heads. And let me make sure before I get going here that I got a good razor blade, because that is another crucial part to this. That's just a junk one right out of the package. Nothing better than that. Okay, like I was saying, relatively quick by my standards. we're going to go ahead and get into this. I'm going to zoom in. Hopefully, yeah, we're good and centered up right there. So I'll zoom in and out on this. And this is a, Tommy Lynch D&D. I tied all the way up to where the head goes. When I start with this, I told you I was going to zoom in and out a decent amount. When I start with these, come on remote, I go with the GSP 100. When I go to the heads, I go to the GSP 2, and I just have them on separate bobbins. And I know y'all are looking at me and like, what the hell? I mean, you spent $35 each on the same bobbin. Well, guess what? I don't have a life. All I do is tie flies and fish. So $35, I don't care. It makes it easier. I don't have to switch bobbins over. So, oh come on, making a mess out of this. By the time I actually get to the tying on this, y'all are gonna already be tuned out. Okay, we're back in business. Anyhow, the majority, all of the fly except for the head, GSP 100, switch over to the 200 for the head. You have more fibers, they spread out more, it seems like you get a better flare on your deer hair. That's all I'll say about that, and no shit this time, we're actually going to tie. So, I did say a little bit of time. I pre-stacked this first set of brown. You don't have to stack the brown for your collar and everything. I just like doing it. I like stacking it. It's from Kelly's Dungeons and everything, having that nice clean collar on the back. I just can't get away from doing it after tying so many of those. So it's just a habit, and I like the way that it looks better. But you absolutely don't have to stack these. So you want a very generous amount. I mean, you'll see this when the fibers are, you're getting onesies and twosies falling out of your hand. That's when you know you have enough. If you can grasp everything and control it, you probably need just a little bit more. So I'm going to get my thread tied on here because I can't do anything else until it's on. And get talking and get excited about deer hair and forget the crucial step of this. So, and you can see, I mean, I'm really kind of taking my time with this, just making sure that I'm able to get as much of this bundle in there as possible. So go ahead and measure this out. And this is on the Ahrex TP650, and you noticed I started right above where the actual bend started. Now I'm just going to go one loose wrap, another loose wrap. Just start working these fibers in there a little bit more. And you can see your thread's starting to disappear. Thread's starting to disappear. And then I'm just going to work the thread through this body, or through this clump of hair. I'm going to go once, twice, and I'm going to advance my thread a little bit each time. And what that does is it just forces some of the material down on the underside of the hook, and you don't have to stack on top and the bottom, and you get that half moon for your collar. So then I'm just going to push this stuff back. I'm going to push it back, and I'm sure you guys can hear the wind out there. We've got season change coming up in Montana, and that wind is serious, but hopefully it's not too distracting. And then after I'm at that second point and I've pushed my hair around, I'm just going to pull tight on this, and then I can release with my left hand. I can release my collar. That's one important thing. Don't release your collar until you have your thread locked in place. So there we go. Everything's locked in. We've got a decent amount. It's a little bit thicker on the top than it is on the bottom, and I could have done a little bit better with that, but I didn't. Sorry. I could have done a little bit better, but I'm going to pack this hair now and I'm going to send this to the back. Now this is a really important step on this, packing that hair, getting everything out of your way. You can see now everything's pretty clean. I'm able to manipulate it. I'm able to control this with my hand, with my left hand, and there's not fibers all over the place. And that's going to be really important when we go and put this when we put our yellow on. So with this yellow, I'm not going to take a ton of it. I want this bar to be pretty thin. This yellow bar, I don't want it to be really, I don't want it to be real thick. I want it to be noticeable, but I don't want it to overtake the head. So, probably take about half of what you used for the collar and the first section of brown. Take about half of that. And you can see I have that spread out pretty well. By the time I bundle it up, I mean, it's going to be real easy to control. And then I'm going to take these tips, if I can get this into focus. Well, no. I'm going to take these tips here, and I'm just going to cut them off. So I'll switch hands, and you can see I've cut the tips off. There's the butt end right there. Now, with this, I want this directly in the center when I tie this in. So now, you can see with my thumb and my ring finger, I pulled everything away from the bottom. I don't want that brown going into the yellow, and I'm just holding the yellow with my pointer and my middle finger. Loose wrap, and then what I'm going to do is work this stuff around. Work your yellow around on both sides evenly, and then pull tight. There you go. Now you have a nice spin. It's nice and even all the way around. And then when we go and we work this, we're just going to pull everything back. If you have a couple of short ones on this side, with your GSP, you can trap it and pull tight, and it'll cut right through that stuff. Well, that just made a liar out of me, so I'll just go ahead and trim that. Usually with a GSP you can pull tight on this stuff, but apparently I got really resilient yellow belly hair, so just made a liar out of me. Same thing, I'm going to pack this. I'm not going to pack it real tight. Just push it back to where I'm able to control everything. I don't want it extremely tight because I still have a decent amount of hook space to cover up here. So back to the brown, and this is the same thing. When you're picking this stuff out, we're not stacking it this time. We're not stacking it. We're going to cut the tips off. And cutting the tips off allows you to get all of the working material. The tips on this, while they are still hollow, they're still gonna flare for you. They're not as hollow as the actual body on this stuff. And I can't get a hold of this to save my life. They're not as hollow as the body. You're not gonna have the density, and when you start trimming the head, it's going to look really sparse. So to eliminate the possibility of having the tips in with your head, we're just going to cut it out. We're going to cut them, and then you can find your center. Work with just the center of, just with the most productive portion of the hair. Now, it's the same thing with this, and it's a little tricky because you're working on this 26-degree bend. If you have to, reset your hook in the vise and have it straight up and down. I'm just going to work with it right as it is, hopefully. So now I'm getting all my yellow out of the way, and there's a couple of short hairs on this that are just going to be a little difficult because I got big fat stubby fingers and it's not going to want to work for me. But there we go. I got all my yellow out of the way. I have the center portion of my deer hair that I'm tying in with the most productive portion of it. So I have the 1 and the 2 nice loose wraps. I'm gonna work this stuff around, recapture it, pull tight, and you can see it flare. You have a nice clean spin. I'm gonna work it through one more time. Now I'm gonna have a very nice clean break between my brown and my yellow. So I'm gonna get one wrap in front of this, another wrap, and I'm just gonna pack this really kind of loose. I don't want to shove it all back there and then have to throw another stack on. I mean, you can see I have plenty of material right there. Everything's going to be good. Now, get your material, words are hard sometimes. Get your material out of the way. Give yourself a quick whip finish on this, and then you're good to go. Now this is another portion, this next step that we're going to do, this is another portion that can sometimes get overlooked. You cannot over clean deer hair, even after it's on the hook, even after you have it tied in. I'm just going to run this through here and I'm going to stand everything up nice and neat. Everything's going to be clean this way. I already ran it through my comb that I have on the bench to get, you know, like the cross-directional, or the directional hair and all of that stuff out of my way. All of that stuff's gone. This is just standing things up, making it nice and clean, nice and neat. And what I'm going to do now, and I know the camera's not going to pick this up because I'm going to shift the vise and I'm going to bring it toward me. And I'm probably going to have to zoom out slightly, and you're not going to see the best angle on the trim on this one, so just stay with me here. I tried a couple different things. I tried having my phone recording another angle and it just didn't work. But this is the best way that I found to trim these, is to rotate your vise and have it pointing right at you, and you just make this initial cut, go right up through here. Take your time with this. Take your time with the cut, with the trim. You don't want to spend all this time getting the, putting all your materials on and then ruining the fly with the cut. So just take your time. Don't get real aggressive right out of the gate. Make some broad cuts at first and then refine them from there until you really get comfortable working with these things. Just keep your cuts a little less aggressive, I guess would be the best way to put it. So now we're going to just turn this thing on the side, and I know that this isn't coming through on the camera and all you're getting to do is listen to me ramble on, but I'll try not to take too long trimming this so I can show you exactly what we have. I'm just getting the overall shape on this. Don't worry about some wild hairs here and there. I mean, we're just getting the overall shape. So just getting the overall shape on this. I got deer hair flying in my nose. Alright, now that I have the overall shape of this thing, I'm going to make a couple more quick trims on this. Then I'll be able to turn this around and give you guys a look on it. So I can trim it the rest of the way from here at a different angle. I have material falling at my feet now too. just a mess today. So then I'll just make my fine cuts after I have my overall shape. And I'm not going to get real picky on this. I'm not going to put the eyes on. I mean, you guys have watched it. I have the videos out there of doing the full length video, and you get to see the finished product. I'm going to save a little bit of time and not put the eyes on, not subject you guys to that, and not doing the CCG or, you know, the loon. So let me just get this to where it looks somewhat respectable, and then I'll be able to speak to the lines and everything. We're getting there. Give me one or two more cuts, and I think we're going to call that good. There's still a lot of things that need to be, you know, adjusted on this. I mean, I'm still going to make some finer cuts and everything. But there you can see, I mean, you can see the nice clean break that I have between the yellow and the brown. And just removing everything with your ring and thumb underneath before you tie that next section on, that's what honestly makes the difference in this. And that gives you that nice clean break that you can see right there. And that's really what we're after. I mean, does it matter to the fish? As always, no, it absolutely does not. If you have brown going into the yellow, it's not going to make a damn. It's really not. But it's a, you know, it's like as you do anything, whether you're working on vehicles, whether you're playing sports, you're tying flies, whatever it may be, you always want to continue to progress. You don't want to stay stagnant doing the same thing, having the same looking fly. You always nitpick on things, and that's how you get better with anything that you do, is you're always nitpicking, you're always trying to improve. And just having that nice clean break sets your fly apart from having the clean break to where you have two different colors mashing into one another. So if you're really picky like me, you're OCD, and you want to always continue to make your flies look better, hopefully these tips will help you out, and they'll help with your overall wedged heads. Like I said, to the fish, doesn't mean a damn thing. But as a fly tyer, we take pride in a lot of the things we do. We like making our stuff look pretty, so other fly tyers can look at it and be like, oh wow, you did a pretty good job. But anyhow, long way around the barn on this one, but hopefully this helps out. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them with me as always, and I'll get back to you. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next Wednesday.